90% of startups fail. Think about that for a second. For every Airbnb, Uber, or Spotify, there are thousands of companies that vanish without a trace. And the shocking truth? Most of them don't fail because they lacked ideas. They fail because they chased the wrong problems. Ask anyone what makes a successful startup, and they'll say, a great idea. But ideas are cheap. The difference between a dreamer and a founder is execution and solving the right problem. And if you're new here, this is exactly what we talk about on this channel: startup stories, innovation, and the future of where our world is heading. If that excites you, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Most founders fall in love with their ideas. They sketch them on napkins, talk about them for months, even years. But here's the problem. People don't care about ideas. They care about their pain. Think about the last time you bought something new. Did you buy it because the idea sounded cool, or because it solved a problem you were tired of struggling with? This is where so many startups fail. They launch apps nobody uses, platforms nobody needs, or products that feel like nice extras but don't solve urgent problems. Here's the difference: and ideas are optional. Solutions are survival. If you solve something painful, urgent, and frequent, you win. If you don't, your startup dies quietly without anyone noticing. This is why investors always ask one simple question: how painful is the problem you're solving? If the pain is small, customers will ignore you. If the pain is big, they'll pay. They'll beg you for a solution. That urgency is the difference between a product people tolerate and one they can't live without. In 2008, Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp were stuck in Paris on a snowy night. No taxis, no rides, just frustration. That one painful evening turned into Uber. The genius wasn't the app, it was the pain they solved. Passengers couldn't get rides. Drivers couldn't find passengers. Payments were messy and unsafe. Uber wasn't built on a clever idea, it was built on pain. And here's the kicker. In the beginning, most investors laughed. They said, nobody will trust strangers with rides. Payments will never work, cities will ban it. But Uber grew because the pain was too big to ignore. People didn't care about the risks, they cared about getting home. Now, I want to hear from you. Like, what startup are you working on or dreaming of launching? Write it in the comments below. And here's the twist. Don't just share the idea, share the problem you're solving. Because that's what really matters. Who knows? Maybe an investor watching this video will see your comment and think, this is a brilliant solution. Don't forget to leave your email for contact. This could be your chance. Sometimes problems look tiny until they aren't. Take Post-it notes. Today, they're everywhere. Offices, schools, even your fridge door. But their story begins as a complete accident. In 1968, a scientist at 3M, Dr. Spencer Silver, was trying to invent a super strong adhesive for aerospace technology. Instead, he created the opposite. A glue that was so weak it barely stuck at all. At first glance, it was useless. Who wants an adhesive that doesn't hold? For years, Silver tried to promote his solution without a problem. He gave presentations inside 3M, telling colleagues about this odd invention, a glue that could stick lightly, peel off, and be reused. Most people ignored him. Why waste time on a failed glue? But then came Art Fry, another 3M scientist who sang in his church choir. He had a personal frustration. Every time he marked songs in his hymn book with scraps of paper, the bookmarks fell out. He remembered Silver's strange glue and thought, what if I coat a piece of paper with it? A bookmark that sticks, but doesn't damage the page. That was the birth of the Post-it note. But even then, it wasn't easy. In the 1970s, when 3M tested the product, consumers didn't get it. A note that sticks, but not too much? Nobody had ever seen anything like it. It wasn't obvious this solved a problem worth paying for. So 3M did something clever. Instead of advertising, they gave away free samples in Boise, Idaho. A full market test. Office workers tried them, loved them, and demanded more. That was the turning point. People didn't want to give them back. By 1980, Post-it notes launched nationally in the United States. Within 2 years, they were in offices around the world. That useless glue had become a billion-dollar business line for 3M. The lesson? Innovation often doesn't come from solving a huge problem at first. Sometimes it comes from recognizing a small, persistent annoyance and turning it into a must-have solution. Dr. Spencer Silver passed away in 2021, but his invention remains on desks and walls everywhere. A quiet reminder that even failed ideas can change the world if you connect them to the right problem. And here's something important I want to share with you. I'm not just telling startup stories from a distance. Together with my team, we travel the world, filming interviews, promoting founders, building brands, and helping experts become visible. For years, we've been working on personal branding and PR across different industries. This year, we've decided to focus fully on the English-speaking market, and specifically on startups and innovation. Why? Because this is where the future is being built right now. And if you are a startup, if you're building something that can change the world, if you want to tell your story, show how your product helps people, and even attract investors, then reach out to us, send us a direct message. My team and I personally go through these messages. If your idea is exciting, we'll share it here on this channel, or even record a full interview with you. Because startups don't just need money, they need visibility. They need people to hear their story, and maybe your story is the next one we'll tell. Sara Blakely wasn't a fashion mogul. She wasn't even close. In fact, in the late 1990s, Sara was working as a door-to-door fax machine saleswoman in Florida. She had no background in fashion, no connections in the apparel industry, and only $5,000 in savings. But she had one thing many great founders start with: frustration. Every time she dressed for work, she hated the way traditional pantyhose looked and felt. They were uncomfortable, rolled up at the wrong places, and made outfits feel bulky. One night, before going to a party, she cut the feet off her pantyhose with a pair of scissors, just to see if she could create a smoother look under her clothes. It worked, and she realized if she had this problem, millions of other women probably did too. But ideas are easy, execution is hard. Sara didn't have a factory, she didn't have a design team, she didn't even know the first thing about clothing manufacturing. She spent 2 years researching fabrics, patterns, and hosiery production in her spare time, often late at night after her sales job. When she finally went to pitch her idea to manufacturers, almost all of them rejected her. They didn't see the market. They didn't take her seriously. She was a young woman with no fashion experience trying to convince male-run factories to change their production lines. Finally, one factory owner's daughters overheard Sara's pitch and told their father, "Dad, she's right. Women need this." That changed everything. With her prototype in hand, Sara didn't run to investors. She didn't raise millions. She bootstrapped. She packaged her first Spanx products herself, wrote her own patent to save money on lawyers, and started cold calling buyers at big retail stores. When she landed a meeting at Neiman Marcus, the buyer wasn't convinced until Sara dragged her to the ladies' room to personally demonstrate the product. That hands-on pitch sealed the deal. But the real turning point came when Oprah Winfrey named Spanx her favorite product of the year. Overnight, demand exploded. What started as a pair of scissors and a personal pain point grew into a company worth billions. Sara Blakely became the youngest self-made female billionaire in America, not because she had a revolutionary idea, but because she solved a real, everyday frustration millions of women shared. Her story is a reminder. You don't need industry experience, connections, or even a big budget. What you need is the persistence to solve a problem people truly care about, and the courage to keep going when everyone else tells you no. When you look at history, there's a pattern. The biggest companies weren't built on random ideas. They solved persistent frustrations. PayPal made online payments safe. Zoom made virtual meetings simple. WhatsApp made global communication free. Dropbox made file sharing effortless. Netflix killed late fees by streaming. Every one of them is a painkiller, not a vitamin. Vitamins are nice to have. Painkillers are must-have. Painkillers change industries. For every Uber or Spanx, there are thousands of startups in the graveyard, ideas that looked brilliant on paper, but solved nothing. Fancy apps with no users, platforms nobody visited, tech for the sake of tech. The graveyard is full of ideas. The marketplace rewards solutions. Here's your challenge. Write down 3 startup ideas. For each, ask, whose problem am I solving? How painful is it? How often does it happen? Are people paying for alternatives already? If you can't answer strongly, it's not a startup. It's just a thought. But if you can, you're onto something real. Startups don't fail because of bad ideas. They fail because founders confuse ideas with problems. If you want to succeed, don't chase inspiration. Chase pain. Because pain is where billion-dollar startups are born. And before you go, please make sure to hit the like button because your support really helps this channel grow. Leave us a comment. We read every single one. And tell us what other startup stories or topics you'd love us to cover next. And don't keep this video to yourself. Share it with a friend, a colleague, or anyone who dreams of launching a startup. You never know. It might be the spark they need. Of course, don't forget to subscribe and keep writing your startup ideas in the comments. Let's build this global founder community together.